in Massachusetts, so I live about an hour away. And as Eddie stated, I am really, really passionate about body image, self-esteem, media representation, gendered expectations, mental health, and kind of how all of that affects us. So when I was a sophomore, I worked with 3 of my best friends. One of them is right over there, Maddie Drosbach. And we created a self-confidence empowerment workshop to give to a group of 8th grade girls. And it ended up going so well that since then I have given 14 different self-confidence empowerment workshops to middle school and high school girls all around Massachusetts. And it's been a really good experience. I've also given 5 major speeches. The topics have ranged from the gender leadership gap to how we can get more women and girls involved in tech and IT. I recently went to Atlanta for one of my talks, which was really cool, and a couple weeks ago I gave my first ever TEDx on why media representation matters and why media diversity is so important. Every Sunday I send out an online weekly newsletter filled with updates, videos, articles on kind of what's going on in the world of like body image and media representation. My friend Quinn is going to pass out sign-ups. So if any of you guys are interested in signing up for the newsletter, it comes out every Sunday. You are more than welcome to. And then if you ever want to unsubscribe, just shoot me an email and I will be happy to take you off. I have a couple hundred subscribers and it's growing. And this August, I am proud to announce that I will be doing my own summer program. It's 5 days long, the first week of August. We have 45 girls signed up and we're going to be dealing with everything from body image to empowerment. And finally, for the past few years, I have been researching and writing a book, and I am finally on track to have a complete rough draft done by August 1st, so then I can start working with editors and publishers so we can take it to the next level. I'm also the co-founder of something called MOVE, which stands for Motivate, Overcome, Value, Empower. I run MOVE with a friend of mine, and basically MOVE is like the company name for the workshops and the summer program that I'm doing. I'm going to UMass Amherst this fall, and I will be designing my own major there, which is really exciting, and I'm hoping to incorporate some kind of education into my degree. I'm not sure if I want to work with inner city reform for education or if I want to work like opening up schools in developing countries, but I'm excited to find out. So that's who I am, and that's what I've been up to for the past 2 years. I know that I'm maybe not as well known as some of the other speakers that you guys have had, but I've learned a lot over the past 2 years. And so, that all being stated, here are 10 really big lessons that I have learned over the past 2 years, and take them as you will. So, number 1, one of the first things that I've learned about running your own business or following your passion is that it takes courage. You guys have to be brave. When I first gave my first self-confidence empowerment workshop to girls my own age, I was absolutely terrified. At the time, I was 16 years old, and I still cared a lot about what other people thought of me. And I felt like my entire reputation was on the line. And I was so scared of failing and being known as like that weird sophomore girl who went out and gave an awful self-confidence workshop and failed miserably. But despite my fear at the potential of failing and my horror at possibly being faced with social rejection, I went for it. Beginning a startup can be scary because you're putting yourself out there. But if you don't take that leap of courage, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to be brave and you have to start. Second thing that I've learned is to accept your starting point as a starting point. I heard you guys are launching something today at 2 p.m. Don't expect perfection on the first day of your startup. All you really need to get started is quite literally a starting point. And then you can take it from there and you can make adjustments and you can grow and get better. You just have to start. The third thing I've learned over the past 2 years, and this one might be the most important, is that you have got to educate yourself on whatever you're doing. As soon as I realized that I was passionate and I was interested about body image media representation and then continuing the path that I was on, I realized that I had no idea where my path was even going. So I decided that I needed to educate myself. And over the past 2 years, I have read over 30 books, dozens of articles, documentaries, I've seen videos, TED Talks, I'm signed up to 1 million different email lists. Pretty much anything that I can get my hands on to educate myself, I have taken advantage of. Anytime I want to do anything, I spend time researching it. So for example, I have read books on how to give speeches, I have read books on how to be a leader, I've read books on how to run my own business, and then of course a bunch of research on things like media representation, gendered expectations, and all that. The resources to do whatever you guys want to do is out there. You just have to go and you just have to do a simple Google search to look for those resources. Educating yourself is absolutely one of the most important things that I've learned. Fourth thing that I've learned, take every single opportunity that is given to you, even if it doesn't completely line up with your end goal. A few months ago, I went to a student showcase and I talked about ways that I have used technology to help me sort of advance my career. Now, that is definitely not what I hope to be doing for a career, and that doesn't entirely match up with my end goal. However, I went and the organizer of the event offered me a TEDx and I made a couple of really good connections. And that's always how it goes with opportunities. You have to take every single opportunity because every opportunity is simply a chance to get another opportunity. So take them. The fifth thing that I have learned, and this one took me a while to learn, so I'm hoping that I can tell you guys and maybe you'll get sort of a jump start on it. Always, always, always ask for help. If you want to turn your big dreams into realities, you guys are going to face a lot of roadblocks, and I'm sure that you guys already have faced a lot of roadblocks. Instead of overwhelming yourself and then crying from frustration like I used to do, go ask for help immediately. I would seriously recommend making a list of mentors, of people that you can reach out to. And you guys are really lucky because you have so many mentors. You're working with Eddie, and if you guys want, you can put my name down on that list, and in the message that I'm part of, I'll be sending out my email later today so that way you guys can feel free to reach out to me at any time. Always, always, always ask for help. And if you can't think of anyone, think about who specifically has experience with whatever you're trying to do, and then go talk to them. Sometimes you have to get creative. For example, I don't know anyone that has ever written a nonfiction book, but I do know English teachers. And English teachers can maybe help me work through the problems that I'm facing. So get creative and don't try and figure out your problems on your own. Always, always, always ask for help immediately when you hit a roadblock. 6, develop a terrific attitude towards failure and criticism. Straight up, no matter what you're going to do, this sounds a little harsh, but you are going to originally fail. You're going to fail a lot. And then, if you learn from your failures, eventually you will reach your goals. The reason why I'm able to grow my business and what I do is because I've learned from my failures and because I have not stopped at the roadblocks. For example, writing a book is really hard, and this past February, I faced writer's block, and then I learned that I needed to restructure my entire book. So I spent February to June restructuring and reworking and re-brainstorming my book every single day. It was so frustrating to me because I was hoping to have a complete rough draft of my book done by the end of June, and now I was faced with this entire roadblock. But I talked to mentors, I got help, and I kept going. It was a very frustrating few months, but because I persevered because I persevered through my failures, about 50 failed brainstorms later, I was able to come up with a reworked structure of my book. Another time when I failed was when I gave a workshop to people my own age, the first one that I was telling you guys a little bit about earlier. I went home from the workshop and I found out that a parent had called the school really upset that their daughter had come to see the workshop, and the father was he said that his daughter was uncomfortable and that he expected the workshop to be put on by professionals. He did not realize that it was going to be high school girls. So that was horrifying for me to find out, and I was ready to never give another workshop again because I could not believe that on like my first real workshop, I was facing a parent phone call. But luckily, I had a workshop the next day, so I was forced to give another. And we took that, what I perceived to be a failure, into consideration, and we used his criticism. And because of his criticism, we have completely reworked. We have completely reworked the self-confidence empowerment workshops, and they are 1,000,000 times better because we were able to grow and learn so much from his feedback. So always take your failures as just an opportunity to grow. I hope that you guys see failure as not a personal testament to your character, but rather as an opportunity to grow. And it's your choice if you go or not. The only way to truly fail is to not learn anything from an experience, and I really strongly believe that. Side note, I would really recommend reading books on failure. Mindset by Carol Dweck is an excellent place to start. 7, ask for feedback for whatever you're doing. How can you possibly expect to get better and to grow your business or startup or whatever it is you're doing if you don't have feedback? Always ask for feedback so you can grow. 8, know your strengths and know your weaknesses just as well. Though there is always room to get better, I know that I am good at creating, organizing, and making big projects for myself doable. However, I am not so great at promoting my work through social media, and I get really distracted by my phone. So because I identified my weaknesses, and once you identify your weaknesses, you're able to find a solution to them so that way they're no longer a weakness. So for example, a couple weeks ago I read a book on how to promote my work through social media, and I now shut off my phone whenever I'm doing projects. 9, start off every single day by making yourself a to-do list, preferably in colored ink. In high school, I had 2 part-time jobs. I was also my class vice president. I did theater. I went to school. I had a social life, and I was doing everything that I'm doing right now. So a big question that I always got was, how do you do everything that you're doing? And I'm about to reveal my secret to success. And here it is. Make to-do lists and set yourself deadlines. I kid you not. That's how you can accomplish anything. Whatever your big goals are, break them down into small, doable actions. And then set yourself deadlines for those small, doable actions. All you have to do, creating yourself a to-do list every single morning and setting yourself deadlines. Side note, you guys should all look up Passion Planner. It is an unbelievable daily agenda for people who have big dreams. I would definitely recommend it. It's called Passion Planner. And now, for my last piece of advice, surround yourself with role models. Do any of you guys watch the show Parks and Recreation? Just ended. Yay! Okay. I love Parks and Recreation. That is probably my favorite show in the entire world. And the protagonist of the show, Leslie Knope, is a really, really ambitious government official. She works in the local parks department, but she has really big dreams of someday becoming the president, and she has huge dreams. So, her office in the show is covered with pictures of famous, successful, admirable women in politics. And when I was watching the show, I really loved that she surrounded herself with role models because I thought it was so smart since she was constantly inspired and encouraged to be better. So, knowing the immense power of role models and of self-visualization, I decided to replicate that in my bedroom. So I have a little spot on my wall dedicated to people who I aspire to be. You have got to be your biggest believer and your biggest supporter, and you have to surround yourself with things that motivate you. For me, having that little spot on my wall of people that I aspire to be like and of people that have accomplished the things that I hope to, that's what's really inspiring for me. Another thing that I have in my bedroom wall is I have in pink sparkly letters, it says, "Dreams only work if you do." And that always motivates me. So figure out what works for you and what's going to motivate you. And I would recommend surrounding yourself with role models. I could keep going because there are a million lessons that I have learned over the past 2 years. But I think that those are kind of the most important. Do you guys have any questions or anything?